Eric, can you still hear me? What's up, everybody, and welcome to SLC Puck Live Edition, Saturday night. And I've got the man, the myth, the legend himself, Eric Jensen, with me on the line. Eric, we just witnessed what I think we could call this a missed opportunity for the Utah Hockey Club. A 3-2 overtime loss to the Dallas Stars in the Lone Star State. Do you feel like it was a missed opportunity as well? Right. Yeah, Ottinger had 33 saves tonight. He was the first star of the game. The two goals he allowed in both came off the stick of Maccelli, who had been ice cold for quite a bit. I believe he scored his first goal since like December 6th. I think the last time they played Dallas was the last time he had scored. So good to see him on the board. And Lawson Krause kind of had a similar thing happen the night, or I guess on Thursday night against the Flames, 2 goals of his own, which, Eric, I don't know if you saw us on Twitter. I'm taking credit for Lawson Krause's performance against the Flames because I hired a lunatic to do a motivational video for him on Cameo, and I just like to think that somehow the universe aligned in such a way that the Cameo ended up being a good purchase. It was the best $15 I've ever spent. I did not need to do that tonight for Matias Maccelli. That was all done on his own effort, his own accord. But I think when I think about like blown opportunities in this game, I think like to me the most critical moment of this game, and Dom Moore talked about it a little bit on the show, was Maccelli electing not to shoot on that 3-on-1 in overtime. Instead, slid the puck over to Lawson Krause for a one-timer. I think Maccelli, and obviously hindsight's 2020, right? Dallas goes down the other end. They hold on to the puck for another 90 seconds. Prevent Utah from making a change, and ultimately slip the puck past a tired crew there for the Clubbers. But I remember watching that game and watching that moment where Maccelli elected not to shoot and instead passed it to Krause. I'm like, God damn it! Like, dude, this is where you need to show off that killer instinct right now. Apparently, hey Eric. Apparently, people aren't able to hear you, which is sort of like would not be great. Can people go ahead and chirp up right now, Eric? Let's. Can you guys hop in the comments here again? This is Studio B for SLC Puck. You really did. Damn it, Eric. Gosh, we're trying to give the people gold here. Jeff, I know I got some loyal listeners here. Can you guys hear Eric right now? It's no sound for Eric. Hold on. I want this is not making a lot of sense. Hold on. I can hear you. Hold on. Hold on. You know what I think it is? I think it's that thing where we let's see if I do this, I know you're gonna get your echo. Eric, let's hear you again.
Yeah. You got me?
And then okay, what about now? Can you guys hear Eric right now? Eric, say something right now. Do another soliloquy. Nope. Dang it.
Really, that was really it. Jake Ottinger.
Okay. Thanks for being patient, everybody. Gosh, this is I know now you can hear me. Let me call Eric back. All this home podcasting experience that we're trying to do for you guys. And I'm happy to have Eric on. Eric's the hardest working man in amateur podcasting. Eric, can you hear me now? Okay, and I got you, but I need to pipe you into. Hold on. Thanks for being patient, everybody. Hold on. We're trying to make this work here. Eric has a lot of good takes. I know this is live. This is a hot mic. Should this have been tested beforehand? Shut up. All right. It's a free show. You know, it is what it is. Enjoy it. Okay.
I mean, we can move back to the old one.
No. I think people got you now, Eric. You're gonna be a little probably laggy comparatively, but we're gonna get the sound now. Can we give us something here, Eric?
All right. I mean, do you have me now? I mean, hopefully.
Yes. The audio quality is not great, but we're gonna roll with it, and we're gonna continue to test this out in the future.
Let me see if let me watch this. Let me see how smart iPhone is. All right. Let me see if I can get.
Okay, Preston. Thank you both. Okay, thanks for being patient. Again, it's so important to have Eric on.
Other device.
Not only visually, but in audio form as well. And before we realize the era of our communication channels, and I should show you guys what this setup looks like. This is a storage closet in my little basement apartment in Sugar House that I'm calling Studio B. I've got a Rodecaster Duo here. I've got monitors. I've got this whole thing, but apparently none of it's routed correctly. So again, still work in progress. And it's a free show, so shut up. Just enjoy it. But Eric had a really nice diatribe when we were starting, and Eric, just kind of again, just really quick. I mean, I know if I don't stop, if no one steps in, you could do a 45-minute monologue, which I'm not saying is bad, which is usually quite good. But just real quick, some for us, especially those of us who are new hockey fans, kind of what happened in tonight's game.
Well, as I was saying earlier, hockey's kind of a one sport where you can play great as a team. You can have great performances. You can cycle the puck well. You can limit defensive mistakes. You can maintain control of possession. You can keep things going your way. You can be running up the hits. You can be working the power play well. But sometimes you just run into a hot goalie. And sometimes you just run into a goalie that you just can't solve. And tonight that goalie was Jake Ottinger. Aside from Matthias Maccelli's 2 goals, it's why, to be frank, Austin, goaltenders outside of number one center, goaltender is the most important position, in my opinion, in hockey. Because all great Stanley Cup teams, every team that has ever made a run, has a goalie that can get hot and perform well through 4 7-game series to win the Stanley Cup. And if you don't have a good goaltender, then you're just cooked, and you don't stand a chance in the NHL. And luckily, I think Carl Vejji has had a really good showing over these past few weeks. I know everyone says, "Oh, Connor Ingram's the starter." No, he's not. Connor Ingram is no longer the starter for this team.
Yep.
Veggie is the starter for this team moving forward because he's proven he can handle the workload. And if you look at literally most of his stats, he is top 5 in the NHL right now, in goals allowed at least. And that is extremely impressive. So good night, good game for them. I know that you want to get points, but this is a Dallas team that is contending for a Stanley Cup. This is one of the contenders in the West, and to go to Dallas and get a point, it's extremely impressive. And it might be a little bit of a bummer, but for me, this was a positive night for them to get a point and remain competitive with a really good team.
And I just really quick. Oh, hey, that's just me. Hi, there we are. Okay, we're still figuring this out, guys. Thanks for being patient with us. Just to build on what Eric was said, especially regarding goaltending. We're right here. I'm looking at moneypuck.com's kind of goaltending statistics here. And you guys know me. I love moneypuck.com. We can see like 4 of the 5 top goalies. Karel Vejmelka's in there. And pretty much basically all, I guess, the top 7 goalies, but you could argue the 8th, although the Rangers are kind of fading a little bit right now. Are all goaltending for teams that are contenders at this point. Connor Hillebuck is obviously been the top goaltender in the NHL this year. That is reflected statistically. My favorite one to look at is goals saved above expected. That involves a lot of math, like shot positions, situations, all that kind of stuff. Lucas Dostal of the Anaheim Ducks, despite being on a bad team, has carried them a lot, has saved almost 19 goals above average. But Karel Vejmelka is right up there, saving 12 goals above expected. So that just builds on Eric's point, right? The goaltending is the most critical position in hockey, perhaps outside of the number one centerman. And I think that's something you see evident in the statistics and in the standings. Looking at that cross section, right? But I think tonight, Eric, the big story for Utah was Matthias Maccelli scoring 2 goals. And for me, I thought the most critical moment of the game, and I said this while we were trying to get the equipment all sorted out. For me, the most unfortunate part of the game that I thought encapsulated the almost moment was him electing not to shoot on that 3-on-1 in overtime, instead sliding the puck over to Lawson Krause for a one-timer. Dallas goes down, collects the puck, goes down, holds it for 90 seconds, and gets it past a tired Utah defense and in the net to win the game. Did you feel frustration watching that play? Were you hoping Maccelli would shoot the puck there, go for the Hattie and the game winner?
My recall, I'm not going to lie, is shoddy when it comes to game scenarios. I thought the missed opportunity was when Nick Schmaltz and the group had a 3-on-2 and kind of the wires got crossed between the defenseman and the winger. That was the one where I saw a little bit of a kind of a mistake from Utah. But I mean, I think it's fair to say that. I think for me, I've been watching this team more closely over the last few weeks, and I think for me, the thing they're missing, and like if they really want to speed up this rebuild, they have so many picks. Like, go get a proven goal scorer who, in those moments, is going to put one in the back of the net. Because you look at, I'll use the team I root for in the Colorado Avalanche. In a scenario where you need a goal, you need a point, you look at Nathan McKinnon, Cale Makar, Mikko Rantanen, and usually one of those guys is going to score. You need a player not even to that caliber, but a player that can score and score at will. And I just think they're missing that. I'd like to see guys like Clayton Keller and Logan Cooley, just finish a little bit more. They have a bunch of really high-performing points players. They have 3 players that are basically at a point per game. But none of those players, of those 3 players, only one has over 15 goals, and that's Dylan Gunther with 16. I think that's the one thing that this team is missing is a horse, is someone that is going to score 40 to 50 goals every single year, because right now I think they have a lot of 30-goal scorers, and I think if you threw one really good 40, 50-goal scorer in the mix, that the sky becomes kind of the limit for this team. And I think it also helps kind of unlock some of the scoring potential for the club.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see what happens as the trade deadline gets a little bit closer, to see like who's available. I think right around the Four Nations face-off, I think it'll become a little bit more clear who the buyers and sellers are. For those of you guys new to hockey, that's effectively going to be the All-Star break this year, is the Four Nations face-off. So at that point, I think the playoff race really kind of heats up, and we see who's available and what, if Utah is going to be in a position to make a push. I talk about this on my podcast. It felt like something possible. I would love to see them get a guy like Taylor Hall of the Chicago Blackhawks. But it was funny. I was just looking at his Wikipedia page. Apparently, he has some history with Bill Armstrong already. He had just been traded to the Coyotes the year before Bill Armstrong became the general manager, and then Armstrong elected not to re-sign him. So I feel like maybe there's a story there that I think a lot of
Taylor Hall doesn't really fit the DNA of this team. Taylor Hall is a vet. Taylor Hall is a veteran player looking to get on a team that's ready to win a Stanley Cup and ready to win a Stanley Cup.
I think he's definitely a rental for somebody, right? And so, yeah. I just wonder if he's someone that Utah takes a chance on for a couple months to get a push. I do think you're right. I think he's probably a better fit for maybe if Winnipeg wants to really go all in, or maybe even the Toronto Maple Leafs. That could be kind of an interesting rental situation as well. But Eric, I'm having fun here. I'm just imagining a world where a former MVP comes to play in Salt Lake City for a few years. Can you let me live in this reality that I've chosen? Okay, just go with me a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's a fine reality. I think another reality that could really be great is, I'm not the hugest fan of his game, but I think a change of scenery might help him. A guy like Trevor Zegras. Okay, it's been a long time with this rebuild in Anaheim, and you wonder if they're just willing to kind of reset. Frank Petrano, he's another kind of rental guy, but still a little bit younger. He's had trouble scoring, though, so not the kind of a player. If you want a fun, older player that's maybe not a 40, 50 goal scorer, I don't know if there are any of those guys on the trade market, if we're being completely honest. But what about Brad Marchand? Sure. A player like that who could really come to Utah in his final years, and be, a face of the franchise and help this young core kind of groove a little bit more. But, I think another very realistic possibility is the fact that there just aren't many moves to be made during the season, and they wait and they do their work in the summer this year. And I think that's totally fine too. What I think determines that is, where are they hanging around Valentine's Day?
Yeah.
That's kind of the next stretch of the season here. If you can keep winning games and keep yourselves, right now, what are they? They're
17, 15, and 7. They're 6th in the Central Division. And I believe
how many points out of that final wild card spot?
I just had that tab open, Eric. Why couldn't you ask while I had the tab open?
I've got it now. Okay, they're 3 points out.
3 points out. Okay.
They're 3 points out.
You know what really would have helped them tonight is St. Louis lost to the Blue Jackets tonight. That would have had them tied for that second spot out of the wild card.
And hey, if you've got us on your iPhone, on your tablet, on whatever, you should, if you're a hockey fan, you should own ESPN Plus. Get on ESPN Plus right now and fire up that Nashville Calgary game and become the biggest Nashville Predators fan of all time. Because if Calgary drops that one, you still remain in a pretty good spot. That's one for, Utah Hockey Club fans to really keep an eye on. And just a free plug here to please, if you're wanting to get more into hockey, this is a fun team. It's a young team, but there is so much good hockey in the NHL right now. Pick a contender to kind of follow along with. Pick an Eastern Conference team. The more hockey you watch, the better you are at understanding the game. It takes a while to be able to track the puck. Like when people start watching hockey, sometimes it takes like 3 or 4 months to really start to get where to watch. And the more you watch, the better you get. So, usually Utah's playing in these late windows. Pick a 5 o'clock game, pick a team on the East Coast. There are a lot of good teams, but would really recommend watching more hockey. That's the best way to get more hockey knowledge.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to find at least one game of consequence, on any given night in the hockey world, for sure. Eric, let's talk about the third line. I think so much has been said about the third line, especially coming into the game against Calgary. We saw them play much better. Lawson Krause 2 goals. Obviously tonight, Matias Maccelli gets a pair for himself in this one. How my theory is that whatever is being said on Twitter is not being ignored in locker rooms, right? I think when analysis gets to the point where people are breaking down on Twitter, it's already been well digested at the team level. I'm sure those guys knew that they were, slacking, coming up short of expectations. What do you feel like this has been a turning point for that group in particular? That we see Maccelli, Krause, Bjugstad, and now Liam O'Brien kind of being floated into that group?
The third line's delicate to me. Yes, you want a good third line, but for where Utah is as a club right now, that's where you want to put your developmental guys, the guys that are just getting into the league, that are maybe not fully on one-way contracts. Like, the third line's a really good place for those kind of guys to be. The third line's also where you get a lot of fan favorites because they're gritty, cool, they're just gritty players. And, Matias Maccelli tonight, if he had gotten that hat trick, man, he becomes a fan favorite immediately because he's the first Utah Hockey Club player to ever score a hat trick. I couldn't believe that. When I heard that, I was like, oh man, I guess that's right. Like, that's absolutely nuts to me.
It's a season of firsts, Eric. We haven't had that one yet. We haven't had our first show that's gone seamlessly either. So that'll be just as exciting.
Yeah. I think that for me, it's Matthias Maccelli. He's, for a third liner, he's doing okay. He's got 10 points in 37 games. Lawson Cruz has stepped up a little bit. But to me, if you can get, let's say in the span of 10 games, you score 30-ish goals. If you can have your third line, and remember there are 2 assists in hockey, if you can have your third line of those 30 goals contribute about 12 to 15 points, then you have a really good team and a really good third line. So I know that fans want to see players score, but those third line players and fourth line players are there to shift the momentum. You don't want to be looking at goals and assists for those guys. You want to be looking at, are they getting the puck into the zone? Are they playing the forecheck? Are they getting to the puck, moving it around the zone, cycling it, hits along the boards, wearing the other team down, grinding the other team down, eating up minutes? That's what you want from your third and fourth line. And if you can pop in, 1 or 2 goals every 5 games from that, then that is a perfectly acceptable NHL third line. So I just think that's one thing I would caution when kind of thinking about what you want from the third line is these guys are on the third line for a reason. They're not the stars of your team. Mm-hmm. But they need to contribute positively outside of the stat sheets, and you do that by keeping the puck in the offensive zone and wearing down the defense and keeping the other team's top lines in their defensive end instead of the offensive end.
Now, I know you said you feel like it's a great place for guys who are early in their careers. That's not Liam O'Brien. He's been around for a little bit and has probably maybe peaked as a professional at certain points. But I have been really encouraged by the decision to activate him. I know they made him active for the game against who was it that Keller was sick against? Who were they playing? It's one of the better teams. Sorry, I have a bit of brain fog. I went skiing today. I have a little bit of brain fog going on. When they played the Oilers, that's right. But I think what I've really enjoyed seeing about O'Brien is I think he brings like this wasn't unexpected, but he brings like a really nice physicality to this team. I was looking at the stat sheet tonight, and I know like something jumped out at me that I hadn't seen all year, and I think it's that Utah out-hit Dallas in this one. I think it might be the first game all season that they out-hit their opponent. They out-hit them 21-16 on the evening, and I have to think a lot of this has to do with the kind of that tenacity, that get pucks deep mentality that guys like O'Brien bring. And here's the other thing I want to add. Was this not the fastest game you'd ever seen in your life? I'm looking at how many faceoffs they had. 54 faceoffs. It felt more like they only had like 10 the entire game. The way that this game moved. What do you think, Eric? Did you like what you saw out of Spicy Tuna? And what was your take on the pace of this game? It's a 2-part question.
Liam O'Brien's a fun player. He's the enforcer, right? I get that, but his game's not really for me. I'm more about scoring. I like that he's a heavy player. I like heavy players, but I like heavy players that use the hits to create offense, which isn't always his game. I think that, for me that the pace. The pace is interesting because hockey is an interesting sport in that it fundamentally changes the deeper you get to the year. And I mean, I think in this case, you meant the pace of play, like how many stoppages there were, but also the speed of the game. As we get deeper into the season, people are going to see this. Once we get to President's Day, it is going to be a completely different sport than what you watched at Thanksgiving. It gets faster. There's less room on the ice. There's less stoppages. There's more hitting. And once you get into playoff hockey, when you watch playoff hockey for the first time, it is nonstop. The sport just changes throughout the year, and we're getting to the point where it's getting faster, and it's encouraging to see that Utah isn't letting that get to them. They're still staying competitive. There's less space on the ice. There's less room for mistakes, and the pace is up, and they're keeping up with teams. And I think that's a positive sign.
Yeah, absolutely. Eric, let's look at the schedule ahead. And if you've been following the Utah Hockey Club, you know, like the story that's building is how much better they've been on the road compared to home. And if you believe in that, if you think that that's a trend that can continue, you might be a little bit nervous at this point because the Utah Hockey Club has a 7-game homestand coming up. I think ordinarily that would sound very exciting, but in the light of the statistical trend we've been seeing this year, maybe a little less exciting. Let's see. I mean, that homestand starts with a game again. There's some toughies here, Eric. There's some real toughies. First game of the homestand is Wednesday. They're facing the Florida Panthers. After that, they'll play the Sharks, a team that beat them in disgusting fashion. The Utah Hockey Club blew a 4-1 lead earlier in the year. New York Islanders, who the Hockey Club has beat. Montreal, who they beat. The Rangers, who they beat. St. Louis, who I think they beat. Winnipeg, who they have not beat this season. So teams that they have beat actually on this homestand. But again, a lot of those wins came on the road. I mean, what are your expectations for this homestand, Eric? I mean, obviously, it'd be great if they could win all 7. Is that realistic?
I think it's a good test to see where you are, because this is one of those stretches where you're going to say, all right, are you competitive at the trade deadline? There's some good tests in here and some winnable games. Florida, you just got to bring your A game. You just got to play your best game of the season. Think back to that Colorado Avalanche 4-1 victory in Colorado. You got to play like that game. Veggie's got to be on fire. They're a really good team. They're the Stanley Cup champions for a reason. They're a contender again this year. They're not quite as deep as last year, but they still have really good players. Kachuk's a really fun player to watch. That is a game that you're going to want to watch. It's on TNT. That is a really big game. San Jose, just because of the way that first game went, and I mean, I get that they play in different divisions, but to me, San Jose feels like an emerging rival. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you feel that way or not, but
that game made me so mad, Eric. They need to seek revenge.
They're two teams on similar trajectory. The Sharks are probably a year behind the Hockey Club in terms of the rebuild, but they've gotten to the point where they've had the number 1 overall pick, and they have a stud in Macklin Celebrini, who is a super fun player to watch. They've got this young kid in goal, Yaro Askarlov, very good player. I think that Sharks games.
Did they get a nice haul for Blackwood on that deal with? They got a second round pick and Alexander Goryev to be a backup, which is right where you want Alexander Goryev. I think that's a really good test. Montreal's a really good test. They had this kid, man. I'm gonna butcher his name, but I gotta pull up this kid's name. We don't pronounce names correctly on SLC Puck. It's one of our long-standing traditions here.
Really quick, because this guy, this kid, first night of the season gets a shutout against the Florida Panthers. He is Sam Montembeault. This guy, he's at a 2.91 goals against. He's at a 2.91 goals against average, which isn't the best in the world. But, he's got a 900 save percentage. He's very solid. And he just came off stonewalling the Colorado Avalanche tonight. He's a goalie who is playing really well. Montreal doesn't have much in terms of scoring. That game's going to be a tight one, but that's one that you would hope, if you're the Hockey Club, that you can win.
Montreal was so let me just sorry real quick, Eric. I was just going to point out they started the year real slow, but they were 7-3 in their last 10, so they're kind of catching a stride right now.
Yeah. Then you have the Rangers, who are kind of a mess. That game, you should be able to beat the Rangers, especially with Igor Shesterkin on IR now. That's one where you want to get the win. And then you have two big tests. And St. Louis, that's a must-win game. Mm-hmm. That's a division game. That's a team that's going to be fighting with you for that last playoff spot. And then you've got Winnipeg, who's the class of the division and who has the best goalie in the league and who are just a wagon when they want to be. So it's a good test. It starts hard with the Panthers. Then there are those 4 games, San Jose, New York, Montreal, and the Rangers. You want to win 3 of those 4. If you can win 3 of those 4 and go into that game with St. Louis at 3-2 on the homestand, that's really great. And Utah Hockey Club fans need to get out too. I mean, these games are important. And
before you get on that tangent, Eric, I'm going to say the opposite. Don't get out for the St. Louis game. Stay home and watch it on SEG Media, because that night is going to be Nashcast with myself and Tyson Nash. So no need to pack the arena at Delta Center. We got you covered on Nashcast, okay? But Eric will be in the arena, I'm assuming, right?
No, I can't quite. Hockey's an expensive sport.
Okay, stay home and watch Nashcast, Eric. I'll blow you a kiss.
I will actually be taking a pilgrimage.
Oh, where to?
This is my yearly pilgrimage to Ball Arena. I will be going to see the Oilers, Connor McDavid live for the first time. Very excited for that. And then the Dallas Stars on that Saturday. So
okay, I fully expect you to have SEG Plus on your phone to tune in to watch your boy while you're at the arena. Right? Is that something I can count on you for? Okay, thank you, Eric. Appreciate that.
I will. I certainly will be there.
Yeah, I greatly appreciate that, Eric. Hey, Eric, you're a longtime hockey lover, and that's something I love about you, among many other things. We're 39 games into the inaugural season of NHL hockey in Utah, and almost at the halfway point of the first season ever. What's your read on how things have been going?
My read on the season.
Success so far. Are you excited? Put all your emotions in a bottle and send it this way.
I will say I went into the year not quite knowing what to expect, because the tenure in Arizona was just such a disaster class. Like it truly was the only irrelevant NHL franchise in the league. And I just wasn't sure how these players, how this coaching staff, how this front office was going to react. And the way they came out, like, I think you have to view this as a success. And I think that Utah Hockey Club fans should be hoping for playoffs, but you also have to understand that this is still a rebuild. There's still time for these players to get better and to grow. Most of these guys are really, really young. You have a lot of draft capital. You're going to be a team that can finally, maybe all you need is one free agent to come here for the first time and hype it up. And hopefully these guys are telling their friends around the league. It's a small league. Everyone knows each other. Hopefully they're telling them how great Utah is and how great it is to live here. And I think it's been, well, there have been ups and downs. You can't view it as anything other than a smashing success. They are competitive. They look like they could be a wild card team. They look like they have a pretty good goalie. They look like they have a young core of guys, at least 3 or 4 guys that you could see playing on a playoff top 6. which is good. They really are just that one kind of stud MVP level prospect away from really being an important team in the West. And honestly, if you don't trade at the trade deadline, if you're a fan of this team and you're watching on YouTube right now and you want one of those guys we're talking about, don't be discouraged because they have 3 first-round picks. And if they want to, if they like a guy at 1 to 3 at the top of this class enough that they think in their rookie season they can get and put directly into the NHL, and that's when you know you have a really good prospect, when you can just slot them into the NHL, then they can make trades. They can get up to 1 through 3 in this draft. They can really change the franchise this summer while still being a team that was super competitive in a really tough Western Conference. So I think overall, no matter what, it's unless they totally bottom out and their own pick becomes a top pick in this year's draft, then I think they're in a great spot. And I think right now they're at what? How many points do they have? 40? Right?
41 tonight.
I think if you're the Utah Hockey Club, and we're at the halfway point right now. This was the 39th game of the season, basically at the halfway point. If they can finish with the goal should be finished with 80 or more points. And if they can finish with 80 or more points, it's probably not enough to get into the playoffs. But that is a really solid team that just doesn't quit and is playing hard night in and night out. And it's the place you want to be in year 3 or 4 of a rebuild, because that means you can go out, you can target big name free agents, you can use your draft capital, and you can try to add bets to put the team over the top next year. I think that no matter what, it's extremely promising, because if it's not this year that they're in the playoffs, I feel very confident in saying if they continue on their current trajectory, they will be a playoff team next year. And I think that's an extremely good spot to be in.
Eric, I love you, man. I think we both have girly friends who are just staring at us watching or talking about hockey right now. So probably time to hop off.
Now I'm on my own tonight.
Oh, dang.
We could go all night.
Just me then. Okay. Well, I probably can't. So, but I, Eric, it's always a pleasure to have you on. We got to get this equipment situation figured out. I literally bought my nice mic. I know. Bought the setup over here.
I
understand you were prepared.
I was all ready to go, man.
Eric.
We gotta get this figured out.
I know, Eric. Believe me, this is such a work in progress. We appreciate everybody who is tuned in to support us. Our viewer. We started hot, Eric. We started double-digit viewers. And then as soon as the equipment failure became apparent, we absolutely tanked. We went down to small. We weren't doing the same numbers we were doing out of the gates. But again, we'll get that sorted out. And I appreciate your patience more than anything, Eric. I know you were ready and revved up. Eric texted me, I think like 3 a.m. today. It was like, we got to do another show. We got to get on. And I'm like, Eric, I'm sleeping. Can you relax? But that's Eric for you.
Yeah,
he's gung ho.
Well, I have you here, next Saturday, it's tough because the NFL playoffs are on, and that does become my personality.
Right.
But let's just say that game starts at 7:00. It's a home game. It's probably not over till 10:30. I'll put that on the second screen.
Okay.
The Avs play at 5. It's gonna be done by then. Let's get together next Saturday.
Okay.
Let's get the equipment figured out. And
Yes.
Let's do this thing again. It's January, man. There's no reason we shouldn't be doing this most, if not every Saturday.
Eric,
Saturdays are a hockey day, man. It's beautiful.
Eric, I totally agree with you. I'm gonna get my research and development team working around the clock on the equipment situation. Do
that.
Speaking of building a team, I have a funny story to tell you about this. I'll tell you maybe off mic, but. Anyway, we'll let our good listeners go to get on with their Saturday. It's 9:30. Still time to go out and get smashed if that's your thing. If you do so, I hope you do so safely and wisely. Eric does breathe sports, Jeff. Eric is the best sports analyst that you haven't heard of yet, and he's brilliant. Eric, can you just really quick for the people who know and love you, who are all of our fans here, where can they find your stuff?
I'm on. I'm not to sound like a nerd, but I'm on Blue Sky now.
You are. Wow. You are a nerd. Okay, go ahead.
I've basically abandoned Twitter. They have these great things called starter packs. My timeline on Blue Sky is all of the sports. I've got Utah. I've got Utah Hockey Club. I've got the Avs. I've got the Broncos.
Okay.
I've got national NFL guys out the wazoo.
Mm-hmm.
I've got college basketball. It's beautiful. I'm never going back to Twitter. So where you want to find me is eric18utah.bluesky, which is bsky.social.
See, that's where Blue Sky loses me, is that they have all those suffixes at the end that it's hard to deal with.
But you want to find me on Blue Sky at Eric18Utah. You can find my I've been writing more. So the drama of it all. I got to get the blog title correct, because it's tough. It's tough.
Are you suggesting you forgot the name of your own blog, Eric?
Yeah, I made this when I was in 8th grade, and it's the hardest one to remember of it all. But it's a very unique domain name, and I'm sticking with it. Drama of it all is sportsblog.com. Maybe I'll text you the next article, and you can tweet it out for me, Austin. And
I'd be happy to. Eric, always.
I'd really appreciate that. Trying to do some writing NHL wraparound articles on Fridays, because that's a good time to kind of look at the week that was in the NHL. Big hockey nights are Tuesdays, Thursdays, Saturdays, folks. Those are the nights that you want to be watching the NHL, and then you've got the big national games on Wednesday. You can find my football podcast, End Zone podcast, anywhere you get your podcasts. So,
Eric is the hardest.
Thanks for having me on, Austin.
No, I just want to say one more plug for Eric. Eric is the hardest working man in amateur sports media, and it doesn't even compare.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if you just want a guy that's not working for like a newspaper or anything that really matters, it totally is, because I can sit on my couch and do it, and it's all totally fine, and I make a hell of a lot more money doing what I do. But I'll tell you how much. But yeah, man, I'm just trying to get my takes out there, and I did pull up the chat here. Shout out Jeff, our one loyal listener.
Jeff's the man. Jeff's always gassing me up, and I know he's calling you a nerd with love, the same affection that I bring to you when I call you that. There's
a burgeoning UHC community on Blue Sky, Jeff. Get on there, man. But you can also follow me on Twitter. I jump on to check videos sometimes, but all my stuff goes on Blue Sky now, so that's where to go. Eric18Utah. Everywhere else, this has been fun, Austin. But I am deeply disappointed I didn't get to use my Yeti microphone. So figure your shit out, and we'll see you next week.
All right, you got it, Eric. Hey, I love you. I'm gonna let you go, Eric. We'll hit the title card right now. We'll hit the outro music. We'll let our good friends who have been tuning in go have some fun tonight. Thanks, guys. A little bit of disappointing night for the Utah Hockey Club. Go get smashed. Go have fun. We'll talk to you guys soon.